Can I help you with something, sir?
I'm good.
You staying around here?
I live here.
Mind showing some ID? Just gotta confirm.
You think I can't afford this block?
Sir, it's a simple question.
Special Agent Leonard Carter, Domestic Terrorism Unit.
I didn't know that, sir.
Now you do.
If there's anything you need...
What I need is for you to recognize who you're looking at before you decide what he can afford.
A white cop stopped a quiet black man on a clean, rich street and told him he didn't belong there. He laughed. He reached for his radio. He called him suspicious. What that cop did not know, what nobody on that street knew, was that the man he was cornering had spent years hunting America's most dangerous extremists, and every word was being recorded. What happened next would end careers, shake a whole town, and turn shame into silence. Before we go on, take 1 second, hit subscribe and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, because this story could happen anywhere. Don't move. The words came sharp, clean, and loud. Leonard Carter stopped walking. He was standing on the sidewalk. One hand held his phone. The other hung loose by his side. The wind moved the yellow leaves around his shoes. Big houses lined the street, all glass and stone and wide windows that watched without blinking. A police cruiser idled at the curb. The engine hummed like a warning. "Why are you just standing here?" the officer said. "People don't hang around like this unless they're up to something." Leonard looked at the officer. "Come, quiet." His face gave nothing away. "I'm heading inside," Leonard said. "In a minute." The officer stepped closer. Too close. "Inside where?" Leonard nodded once, slow. "That house behind me." The officer laughed. Not a friendly laugh. A short one. "Sure." "Uh-huh," he said. "You sure about that?" Leonard didn't answer right away. The officer's eyes moved over Leonard's body, his dark skin, his blazer, his jeans, his boots. The pause was loud. "Folks on this street," the officer said, "don't usually look like you." That was when the air changed. Leonard Len Carter was 45 years old. He was tall, broad, built like a man who once carried heavy gear for long miles and never complained. His beard was gray at the edges. His eyes were deep and steady, like they had seen storms and learned how to wait them out. He did not look angry, that made people nervous. He wore a navy blazer that fit him just right, over a plain white t-shirt. Nothing flashy. Nothing loud. On his wrist was a simple black watch. No badge. No gun in sight. To anyone watching from a window, he looked like he didn't belong. What they could not see was the past behind his stillness. They could not see the desert nights, the safe houses, the long hours listening to men who spoke hate like it was prayer. They could not see the years Leonard spent inside violent groups, pretending to be someone else, learning how dangerous people think, learning how they lie, learning when they are about to strike. They could not see the FBI file thick as a brick that carried his name. Right now, Leonard Carter was just a black man on a sidewalk. And that was enough. "ID," the officer said. Leonard did not move. "I haven't done anything wrong," Leonard said. The officer's jaw tightened. "I didn't say you did," he replied. "But you fit a description." Leonard raised an eyebrow. "Description of what?" The officer stepped even closer. His hand rested near his belt. "Suspicious behavior," he said. "Standing around. Looking out of place." Leonard let out a slow breath through his nose. "I live here," he said. "Bought the place 3 years ago. I've got the paperwork if you need it." The officer smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. "Might have to see some ID," he said. Leonard nodded once. "Happy to show you." He paused. "But I'm not going anywhere." That did it. The officer stiffened. His name tag read Officer Brian Whitmore. 34 years old. Was cut. Pale skin already pink from the cold. "You don't get to tell me how this goes," Whitmore said. Leonard stayed still. Cars passed at the end of the street. A woman walked her dog and crossed to the other side when she saw them. Curtains moved. Phones came out. Nobody spoke. Whitmore tapped his radio. "I've got a male refusing to cooperate," he said. "Possible trespass." Leonard felt the old familiar heat in his chest. Not rage. Memory. He had been stopped like this before. At airports. At hotels. Outside buildings he had been invited into. Always the same look. Always the same doubt. He had learned something important over the years. Silence makes people reveal themselves. "Hands where I can see them," Whitmore ordered. Leonard lifted his hands, slow and open. "There we go," Whitmore said. "Was that so hard?" Leonard looked past him at his house. The front door was 10 steps away. A home he had earned, a place he had chosen because it was quiet. Because he was tired. "You got a name?" Whitmore asked. Leonard met his eyes. "Leonard Carter." Whitmore nodded like he already knew the ending. "All right, Leonard," he said. How about you explain how you can afford a place like this? Leonard blinked once. That's not your concern, he said. Whitmore laughed again. Louder this time. You hear that? He said, speaking to nobody. Guy gets defensive real fast. Leonard said nothing. Whitmore's voice dropped. People like you don't usually own homes here. There it was. Clear. Clear. Out in the open. Leonard felt a flicker of something deep and old. Not fear. Not anger. Resolve. Leonard knew his options. He could end this now. One move. One reveal. But he didn't. Because Whitmore's body camera was on. Because truth lasts longer than anger. Officer, Leonard said calmly, I'm standing on a public sidewalk. I've answered your questions. I've been respectful. Whitmore leaned in. And I'm telling you, he said, you don't belong. A second cruiser turned onto the street. Then a third. The sidewalk felt smaller. Whitmore's confidence grew with every flashing light. Leonard stood tall. He had faced men with bombs. Men who smiled while planning murder. This was just noise. As the other officers stepped out of their cars, one of them froze. He looked at Leonard, then looked again. His face went pale. Oh, Brian? The officer said quietly. Whitmore didn't turn. Yeah. You might want to slow down. Leonard lowered his hands. And finally, he reached inside his blazer. Cut. Leonard's fingers slid inside his blazer. Slow, steady, no rush. Officer Brian Whitmore stiffened. Don't, Whitmore snapped. His hand jumped toward his weapon. I said don't move. Leonard stopped halfway. Two fingers held a black leather wallet, thin and worn at the edges. I'm moving, Leonard said, calm as still water, exactly how you told me to. The other officers watched. One of them, Officer Nate Keller, tall, freckled, eyes sharp, had gone very quiet. He knew that wallet. Not this exact one, but the kind. The kind that changed rooms. Leonard opened it. He turned it outward. A badge caught the light. Gold. Claim. Federal. FBI. The street seemed to hold its breath. Whitmore laughed once, short and loud. That's funny, he said. You think I'm stupid? Leonard didn't smile. I think you're tired, Leonard said. And wrong. He held the badge steady. Didn't push it forward. Didn't wave it. He let it sit there, plain and heavy with truth. Keller swallowed. Brian, Keller said, voice low. That's real. Whitmore finally looked. Really looked. His face drained of color. Leonard closed the wallet and slid it back into his blazer. My name is Leonard Carter, he said. Senior Special Agent. Domestic Terrorism. 15 years federal service. Silence spread like a shadow. Whitmore's mouth opened. Then closed. He started. You should have said something. Leonard tilted his head. You should have listened. The other officers stepped back. Not far. Just enough. Whitmore stood alone. The radio on his shoulder crackled. A calm voice broke through. Unit 12, status? Whitmore didn't answer. Leonard reached into his pocket again. This time he pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen once. Assistant Director Miller, Leonard said into the phone. I'm outside my residence. Body cams are rolling. Local PD initiated contact. Pause. Then a voice, clear and sharp. I'm on my way. Leonard ended the call. Whitmore's hands shook. You're telling me, Whitmore said, forcing a smile, you let this go on purpose? Leonard met his eyes. I let you be yourself. A neighbor's door opened. A man stepped onto his porch. Another phone came up. Keller shifted his weight. Brian, he said, almost kind, maybe take a step back. Whitmore did not move. You embarrassed me, Whitmore snapped at Leonard. Leonard's voice stayed soft. You did that yourself. A black SUV rolled onto the street. Quiet. Heavy. Government plates. It stopped behind the cruisers. A woman stepped out. Short hair. Gray coat. No smile. Elaine Miller. Assistant Director. FBI. She walked past the officers like they were furniture. Agent Carter, she said. You okay? Leonard nodded. I am. Miller turned to Whitmore. Officer, she said. State your name and badge number. Whitmore stammered. Miller didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Your department will receive a full report, she said. Body cam footage included. Statements included. Timeline included. She paused. And a recommendation. Whitmore's knees went weak. This man, Miller continued, pointing to Leonard, has risked his life for this country more times than I can count. And you treated him like a threat because of how he looks. She leaned in. That ends today. Whitmore looked around. No one met his eyes. The street watched. The cruisers left one by one. Whitmore was the last to go. He didn't look back. Leonard stood on the sidewalk alone again. The wind moved the leaves. A woman across the street wiped her eyes. A man nodded at Leonard, slow and respectful. Miller stayed. "You didn't have to wait," she said quietly. Leonard looked at his house. "I know." She studied him. "Why did you?" Leonard thought for a moment. "Because this keeps happening," he said. "And people keep saying it doesn't." Miller nodded. "I'll make sure this one sticks," she said. Leonard smiled. Small. Tired. "I believe you," he said. She left. Leonard walked to his front door. He paused. Looked back at the empty sidewalk. Then he said to no one and everyone, "I belong wherever I stand." He went inside. If this story hit you, subscribe to the channel right now, and tell us in the comments, have you ever been judged before being known?